In this lecture, I am going to discuss the third application of Gauss's theorem, that is, electric field due to a uniformly charged spherical shell. It can be conducting as well as non-conducting, so we will discuss both the cases, conducting as well as non-conducting spherical shells. First, I will discuss the case for a conducting spherical shell which is uniformly charged, and then I will discuss the case of a non-conducting uniformly charged spherical shell using Gauss's theorem. Okay, so before going to discuss the electric field, I will explain what is the difference between a conducting spherical shell and a non-conducting spherical shell. So spherical shell means automatically it will be spherical in shape. Okay, shell means there will be some masses inside. Since it is spherical in shape, in this screen it will be circular because it is a 2D screen. In this screen, if I represent those shells, it will be circular. So this will be one such shape, which you can see that it is circular, but actually in 3-dimensional space it is a shell, spherical shell. Okay, this is another one. First one, this is conducting, and this is non-conducting. Let us assume like that one is conducting, other is non-conducting. Now what is the difference between the two? If it is a conducting spherical shell, these are actually spherical shells. Okay, this is conducting shell and this is non-conducting shell. Now what is the difference between the two? What is the difference between conducting shell and a non-conducting shell? So the difference is that if you charge a conducting shell, let us imagine that you are charging or you are giving some positive charges to a conducting shell. What actually happens is, if it is a conducting shell, then all the charges will suddenly move to the surface of the shell. Okay, in the case of a conducting shell, charges won't reside inside the shell, they will move on to the surface. Any conductors, if you consider, charges will not come inside, they will move on to the surface. In the case of a conductor, charges will reside on the surface of the conductor. Okay, so if you charge this conductor, what happens is all the charges will move on to the surface, and hence all the charges within certain fraction of time, you can see that all the charges will reside on the surface. Okay, so you charged the conductor, all the charges are moved, and you will get a conducting shell in such a way that all your charges will be moved to the surface. So you charged the shell, but suddenly all the charges will move on to the surface. This is the case for a conductor. Charges will not stay inside, but it will move on to the surface for any conductor. Whether it is spherical or any other shape, it doesn't matter. If it is a conducting shell, then, or if it is a conductor, it can be shell or any other shape. If it is a conductor, then charges will move on to the surface. Okay, that is basically known as a conductor. In the case of a conductor, if you charge it, charges will not reside inside the conductor, they will move on to the surface. Okay, now if it is a non-conductor, you are charging a non-conductor. If you charge a non-conductor, what happens is, since it is non-conducting means charges are not allowed to move. That is what non-conducting. Okay, since it is a non-conductor, charges are not able to move from their original position. So whatever be the position of charge, they will be at the same position, they can't move anywhere. Okay, so you can see that you charged a non-conducting shell, whatever be the charge present at a different location, those charges will be at the same position at any time. They will not move anywhere. They will be fixed at their position. So that is the difference between a conducting shell and a non-conducting shell. In the case of conducting shell, after charging, charges will move on to the surface, or any charge is there, they will definitely move on to surface. There won't be any charge inside the conducting shell. All the charges will be only on the surface. Whereas in the case of non-conducting shell, charges are not able to move, so that they will be at their original position only. They will not move on to the surface. Whatever be the position of charges, they will be at the same place forever. Okay, so this is the difference between a conducting shell and a non-conducting shell. Now I will discuss both the cases. First I will discuss the electric field due to a uniformly charged conducting spherical shell. Okay, so let us consider that case. So consider the case you are having a uniformly charged conducting shell. Okay, since it is a conducting shell, we are considering the case of conducting shell. Since it is a conducting shell, charges will be here only. It can be positive or negative. I am just representing it as positive. Okay, so in the case of conducting shell, charges are residing on the surface. Okay, now let us find the electric field due to this shell at a point P, and P is at a distance of R from the center. This distance is R. So let us find the electric field at R. How to find electric field at R? We want to find electric field at P, which is at a distance of R. Which is at a distance of R. So what you will do? You are going to find it using Gauss's theorem, because this sphere is having large number of charges. It is not one or two charges. It is having large number of charges. It is a continuous charge distribution. So your Coulomb's law is applicable for point charges. Two charges you need to apply Coulomb's law. If multiple charges are there, you need to apply Coulomb's law again and again, which means for this case Coulomb's law, it is practically it is impossible. Okay, you can find it, but it will take so many steps. So applying Coulomb's law is not a easy method in this case. Hence we will use Gauss's theorem, by which you can easily find it. Okay, so whenever you want to use Gauss's theorem, you need to consider a closed surface for the point you are going to consider. Okay, so here the point you are considering is P, but P is not inside a closed surface, isn't it? So first you need to get a closed surface. Such a surface is called a Gaussian surface. So here the first thing is that consider a surface which is a closed surface, which will include your point also. Okay, so in this case, because of symmetric reasons, a spherical Gaussian surface is the most appropriate Gaussian surface. Okay, so I will consider a Gaussian spherical surface like this, which will include that point also. Now in this surface you can see that my Gaussian surface is a sphere, isn't it? My Gaussian surface is a sphere, and the radius of my Gaussian sphere is small letter r, isn't it? Radius of my Gaussian sphere is same as this distance, that is small letter r. Now let us apply Gauss's theorem here. What is Gauss's theorem? Closed integral E dot ds is equal to q by epsilon 0, where q is enclosed. This is the Gauss's theorem, isn't it? Let us apply Gauss's theorem here. Now let us find the left side of this equation, Gauss's theorem. Okay, what is the left side of this equation? Closed integral E dot ds. First let us find that, and then we can equate it to the right side. Okay, so you are having left side closed integral E dot ds is equal to, here we are finding the electric field due to a uniformly charged. Uniformly charged means its electric field will also be uniform. Uniform in the sense it is constant. So it is a constant electric field. Okay, so that electric field is actually a constant in this case. Now if you take this expression again, you can simply write it as E ds cos theta. A dot b is AB cos theta. So this is E ds cos theta. Okay, now what is cos theta here? If you check the diagram, theta is the angle between E and ds. Okay, so you can see that at this point area vector will be like this. If you consider the diagram, you can see that area vector will be like this, because that area vector, if you consider at that point, it is perpendicular to this line, perpendicular to the tangent drawn at that point. So the area vector is perpendicular to your surface, because we will check it by drawing a tangent, if it is making an angle 90 degree with the tangent or not. Here it is making an angle 90 degree with the tangent. So this is your area vector. Now if you consider, in the case of a sphere, uniformly charged sphere, electric field will be radial. Okay, radial means it is moving radially outward. Okay, so that you can see that electric field is also in the same direction as that of area vector. All the point electric field will be radially moving outward like this. Electric field will be like this. So at any point if you consider, there will be an electric field like this, area vector is also like this, which means they are making an angle 0 degree. Okay, so theta is 0 degree here, so that you can write it as closed integral E ds cos 0. Cos 0 is 1. So this is equal to closed integral E ds. Now I already explained that uniformly charged sphere will produce uniform electric field. So E is a constant. Uniform means it is constant. You can take it out of the integration. Only ds will remain. So please remember that here we are using vector sign, but here we are not using vector sign. Okay, because if you change this expression into this expression, then these are simply magnitudes. In this expression it is a vector. When you use dot product, the two must be vectors, but when you change it into this form, they are just magnitudes. So no need of vector sign. Okay, so please remember all these things we discussed in last year. Now you got E into closed integral ds. Now if you check the diagram, this is your Gaussian surface. What is closed integral ds? You are having closed integral ds. That means you are adding all the ds. That is the meaning of closed integral dx for the closed surface. Your closed surface is Gaussian sphere of radius r. If you add all the small ds, what you will get? Here if you consider a small ds, if you consider another small ds, another small, like that if you consider, and if you add, you will get the total surface area of your sphere, isn't it? Total surface area of the sphere of radius r. What is the total surface area of this sphere? Surface area of a sphere is 4 pi into radius square. Here it is 4 pi into small letter r square. So you will get it as E into 4 pi r square. So this is your left side of Gauss's theorem. This is the left side, E dot ds. You got it as E into 4 pi r square. Okay, so I am writing it here, E into 4 pi r square. This is your left side because it is equal to closed integral E dot ds. So closed integral E dot ds is equal to q enclosed by epsilon 0. Let us imagine that total charge is q. Okay, total charge is q. All the q charges are inside your Gaussian surface because charges are here. Charges are on the surface of the spherical shell. Your Gaussian surface is outside the spherical shell. So all the charges are inside your Gaussian surface. Okay, you need to consider the charges inside the Gaussian surface. Here all the charges are inside your Gaussian surface. This is your Gaussian surface. So net charge is q. Okay, so q enclosed is nothing but q by epsilon 0. Your intention is to find E. So what will be E? E is equal to, you can take that 4 pi r square on the other side, then you will have 1 by 4 pi, there is an epsilon 0, so you can write it 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 q divided by, you are having an r square here, r square, so you can see 4 pi is here, 4 pi epsilon 0 r square and q. So you are getting the equation for electric field at point P as E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 q by r square, where q is the total charge. It is not a single charge, q is the total charge in the spherical conducting shell. Okay, so this is the electric field at P. This is the electric field at P. So let us write it at P. E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 q by r square. Now let us do one more thing. Let us try to find the electric field at here. Let us say there is a point. There is a point here, and that point is nothing but q. Q means the point on the surface spherical shell. Let us find the electric field at that point. Then what happens? Your Gaussian surface is same as this sphere, isn't it? Because your point is here, so you need to consider a Gaussian surface. That surface will be again sphere, so the sphere will be same as this sphere. So what is the radius of your Gaussian sphere? It is same as the radius of your spherical shell. Okay, so let us consider that your spherical shell is having a radius capital R. So your Gaussian surface will also have a radius of capital R. Okay, then you will do the same thing. Instead of this small letter r, you are having a capital R here because your Gaussian surface is same as this one. Here first case, this is the Gaussian surface because your point is here. Second case, your point is here, so your Gaussian surface is same as your spherical shell. So this R is nothing but the radius of Gaussian sphere. Here in second case, your Gaussian sphere is also having the same radius as that of your original shell. So this R will be replaced with this R, and hence your electric field at Q will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 q by r square. Instead of small letter r, you will have capital R, because here small letter r is equal to capital R. Radius of Gaussian sphere is equal to radius of your shell, uniformly charged spherical shell. So you can replace small letter r with capital R, and you will get the electric field at Q, which is here. Now let us find the electric field inside. Let us consider a point PQ, so that we can consider R. Sorry, R is already considered as radius, so let us consider S. At S, let us find the electric field which is inside the spherical shell. Okay, so what is the procedure? Again, consider a Gaussian surface. which is again sphere, which will include your point S. So this is my Gaussian surface. Okay, the radius of my Gaussian surface is, again I am taking it as small letter r, where small letter r is different from the first small letter r. In the first case there is a small letter r which is outside your spherical shell. That distance will be different from this small letter r. Okay, small letter r is the radius of Gaussian surface. Here it is sphere. Now if you consider this case, you can see there is a sphere of radius small letter r. So you will get E this left side will be same, closed integral E dot ds. So you will get E into 4 pi r square. It will be same, isn't it? So inside we are finding the electric field inside. Left side is, that is E dot ds is same as the first case, E into 4 pi r square. Now let us write Coulomb's law, Gauss's theorem. E dot ds is equal to q by epsilon 0. This is Gauss's theorem, but you got E dot ds, E into 4 pi r square is equal to, what is q by epsilon 0 here? You can see that all the charges are on the surface. No charges are present inside, isn't it? You are considering a Gaussian surface here. This is the Gaussian surface of radius r. Inside your Gaussian surface there is no charges present. All the charges are here. Your Gaussian surface is only this much, isn't it? But your charges are at the surface of the shell. So inside your Gaussian surface no charges are present, isn't it? So that you must consider only those charges inside the Gaussian surface, and here there is no charges inside the Gaussian surface, isn't it? So that net charge is 0 by epsilon 0, that is 0, which implies your electric field will be 0, isn't it? So inside the conducting spherical shell electric field is 0. On the shell electric field is 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 q by capital R square, and outside the shell it is 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 q by r square. Is it clear? Now if you draw a graph for this case, with a distance r on x-axis and electric field on y-axis, let us say r means distance, your Gaussian surface. There will be a capital R. What is this capital R? You can see that Gaussian surface, how it is changing. This is moving from here. When it reaches here at this point R, Gaussian surface radius is same as your shell radius, that is R. So when it is here, its distance smaller r becomes capital R, and after that it is again R, smaller r. Okay, so if you have any confusion, this one you can take it as R1. Inside you can take it as R1, so that this will become 4 pi R1 square. Then confusion will not be there. Okay, so now what is the case when it is inside the shell? That means up to a distance of r is the radius. Within that shell electric field is 0, because we just calculated now only inside the shell electric field is 0, third case. So up to a distance of r electric field is 0, isn't it? So in your graph also, up to a distance your electric field will be 0. Up to r electric field will be 0. There won't be any electric field. Okay, now what happens? there will be an electric field at the surface, which is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 q by r square. That means there is an electric field. Okay, on the surface there is an electric field. So there is an electric field. Now what happens? There is again electric field outside the surface. What is the value? It is 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 q by small letter r square. If you check this small letter r and capital R, small letter r, you can see that small letter r is more than capital R. Any point, if P is here, small letter r is from here to here. If P is here, then small letter r is from here to here. But outside, if the point is outside, then definitely small letter r is more than capital R, isn't it? So that in this expression, this r will be more than this r. So electric field, since this is more, it is in denominator, this will be less, isn't it? And this is the field outside, and this is the field on the surface of the sphere. So field on the surface of the sphere will be always more than the field outside the sphere, because this is less. R is less than small letter r. Capital R is less than small letter r. Definitely it is in the numerator. So since it is less, this will be more. So this is more than the electric field outside, and hence, and you can see that it is changing with r square. So there will be a parabolic relationship. R square means inverse parabolic relationship will be there. Okay, so your graph will be decreasing like this. This is E at surface. This one is the E at surface. This is E outside. And from here to here, electric field inside, and that is equal to 0. So this will be the graph, and this graph is very, very important. Okay, so this is the case for a uniformly charged conducting spherical shell. Please remember, it is for a conducting spherical shell. In the next lecture, I will discuss the case for a non-conducting spherical shell, and that is the last topic in this chapter. Non-conducting spherical shell, how to find electric field. After that, we will move on to the next chapter.